It's not every day Tesla announces new products, and when they do, it's usually met with a ton of fanfare and excitement. This time though, with the We Robots event where they announced the Robocab, the Robovan or Robovan, and a better look at Optimus Robot, it seems this year, or at least with this event more than ever, this was met with a lot of skepticism, and I don't know that that's necessarily with bad reason, but I think with this event, even though there was a lot we didn't get to hear about what these products are, it gives us a good glimpse into the future, not only for what the company is in general, but also some of the products we are expecting very soon. We've been waiting for the $25,000 less expensive, more affordable Tesla for years at this point. It's something that we know Tesla is working on, and I think the question is the Robotaxi that car? Because it's slated to come in under $30,000. Elon on stage did say that people will be able to buy them. So is that what this is? And if that's the case, it's kind of interesting. The Robotaxi is only a two-seater. It has a ton of storage in the back. I actually love the design of this thing. I wish this was a car that just had a steering wheel and pedals that I could drive myself, because this is exactly what I'm looking for in like a small commuter car for around the city. And well, it seems like that's what it's going to be, but really the focus here is autonomy. And getting that price low, I think makes sense, because a lot of people are going to want to either buy these to put them into the fleet and, you know, theoretically make money for what their car is doing. Or on the other end, there can be fleets that Tesla, or I guess theoretically other companies, buy these cars and make their own fleets. You know, I could easily see a partnership with like an Uber who buys a bunch of these cars, brands them as Uber cars, and it's running on their network. That seems totally possible, but having the price as low as possible makes a lot of sense. But there's a lot we didn't hear about this car, and considering it's a few years away at the earliest, and you know how timelines are with Tesla, that makes a lot of sense that we don't have very many details here. I wouldn't be surprised if the underlying car is just a Model 3 or something stripped down that is just for display at this point. We didn't get to hear what the battery size is, what the battery pack is. We didn't hear anything about how the car is being made and manufactured, where we have kind of heard some of those developments in other events. We didn't even get to see any of the features, like what is going on the interior. We saw that later on from hands-on experiences, but Tesla themselves didn't really talk about it at all. Now back to that $25,000 price, or I guess in this case under $30,000 price. It seems like those cars are in fact still happening. If we go back to around the summertime when the new Model 3s came out, we heard some news about what this car is going to bring. And apparently at that time, Tesla was working on 3 different models on this new platform, which they were calling the Unboxed platform. There was the NV91, NV92, and NV93. And the NV93 was confirmed to be this Robotaxi that we just got. So it kind of tells us a lot about what the other cars would be. And in fact, we know that Tesla is still working on a more affordable car based on this platform. So it'll probably be very similar, but it is more for the mass consumption for people to actually drive rather than to be a full-on Robotaxi. We don't really have a ton of news as of yet. I'm sure that will start coming out now that we've seen this unveiled. But I think it makes a ton of sense that this Robotaxi we just saw unveiled is basically going to be the same idea of what we see with those other cars. And based on Tesla's track record, I'd expect to see 2 different models. The probably NV91 would be a sedan or a car, maybe a 2-door car, which has been rumored. And looking at the Robotaxi, again, I'd imagine it'd just be basically that, but with the steering wheel and pedals. And I think it also make a ton of sense that there would be some type of 4-door version that is a mini crossover, so that those that need a little bit more room are still able to get a more affordable car instead of having to jump up to the Model Y. Now, what we didn't see, or at the very least is very different than what we were kind of expecting, is this. If you look at this, this is from one of Tesla's annual shareholder meetings, and this image shows you everything Tesla is theoretically working on, at least. So you can see the new Highland Model 3 in there, you got the Model S, X, the Model Y, Cybertruck is even in there, and Semi, so those are all the things that are announced. And then presumably we have the Robotaxi there covered up, which would now be unveiled, and then the Model 2, or whatever they end up calling it, over here on the left. But then we get to this one, which is very clearly some sort of larger vehicle, looks like a van or a delivery van type car. It made a lot of people speculate that we were going to see something like this at some point. But instead, the Robovan we saw, or Robovan as they are saying it, seems to be a very different idea and something totally different different or unique. It seems much more like a piece of public transportation rather than something a person would actually buy for like their family. It seats so many people, and it seems much more efficient to be driving all around all the time. And in fact, we saw leaks of the Robovan all the way back in 2023. This is from July, and you can look at what they are working on here, and it's very clearly the early stages of the Robovan that we ended up seeing. So it seems like this is an entirely different product, and that we still might see a van or a big SUV that is more for the regular person that you could buy. I know here living in Utah, a lot of people have a bunch of kids. I have a neighbor who has 8 kids, and they have to drive around one of these delivery vans because it's the only thing that fits their family. There's a market for it for sure. And it's also something Rivian has entered with their fleet vehicles, although Tesla did say that the Robovan will work for those deliveries. It's kind of up in the air right now what that image meant in that shareholder meeting, but I'm still hopeful that there is at least one more car Tesla is working on. Now, with all that being said, I think what's interesting is that this event clearly points to, I think, a different direction Tesla is going. When they first started, and for the last decade, they were clearly a car company, an electric car company that were trying to make some of the best cars out there. And I think for the most part, they succeeded with that. If you were okay going with an electric vehicle, Teslas were kind of the standard. That is what you aim for. Now, this day and age, there's a bunch of different options. There's a lot of great cars on the road right now, but it seems Tesla now is really focused on the AI and autonomy side. And really, if you look at their company, they're not really a car company anymore. They are a computer company that makes software that happens to run on a car, at least right now. And that's kind of where Optimus comes in. They're using the same basic data and autonomous software for this robot, or at least they will be theoretically once it comes out. So it shows that Tesla kind of has a new, or at least newish, direction for what the company is. It's more so about cracking that code of autonomy rather than just making a cool car. Tesla would probably say they're doing both, and well, I guess I agree with that, but it's clear there's been a shift in focus. And honestly, I can't help but feel that that's why there wasn't very much information at this event, because when these cars theoretically come out, by the time that actually happens, I think, or at least I think Tesla thinks, that when these cars do eventually get released, you're not actually going to buy them. Right now, they say, yes, you can buy them, but I think in an ideal world, Tesla would rather you just rent or lease these cars and have them be part of the Tesla network to continue gathering data, continue being that autonomous network. And we've also heard rumors that Tesla would be partnering with other manufacturers to implement the software in their cars. It seems like that's the play. Rather than you buying a Tesla for yourself, they really are focused on making a car that you could just use. But I don't know, that'll all have to play out with time. I could be completely wrong there. It just seems like that's the direction. But for some of the more timely updates, this Cyber Cab does kind of give us some glimpses of what to expect with the new Model Y Juniper. The current rumor here is that we're not going to see that until the new year. We're definitely not going to see it this year. And we've got some leaks with the new Model Y. The interior, of course, no surprise, looks to be identical to what we are getting with the Model 3 Highland. So you're going to have that light bar, you're going to have the redesigned interior. I'm sure the screen is going to be high refresh rate with the thinner bezels. All of that makes a ton of sense. No real surprise here. But the one image that we did get to see from the outside was this light bar. And if we look at the Robotaxi, it has that light bar there too. And we've seen that in the Cybertruck. So it seems like this is a direction that Tesla is going with their cars. One thing we haven't seen in a leak, but I think might make a lot of sense, is a light bar up front. Again, something we've seen on the Cybertruck and now with the Robotaxi as well. I wouldn't be surprised if that comes to the Model Y to kind of give it even more differentiation between the Model 3. Another interesting thing that Elon just blew right past, but has been in the works for a long time, which is Project Garfield, which is their induction charging. So you don't even have to plug in your car. You just drive over a pad and it starts charging. Well, the Robotaxi is confirmed to have that. In fact, they said there's not even a plug available. You can't plug it in. It's all induction. There was rumors that that was coming to the production cars that me and you buy. I'm still iffy on if that's going to happen, but if they do end up doing that, the Model Y Juniper seems like the perfect candidate to at least include the hardware in. Obviously, you'll still be able to plug it in, but the idea of not having to do that and just parking in your driveway and the car starts charging, That sounds nice, although there's a ton of questions about efficiency and how well that's going to work. Wireless charging is notoriously inefficient, and having to charge a car, which is a huge battery, 70 plus kilowatt hours, that is a lot of power. And if you're using it in a home situation, the problem with it being less efficient is not so much that it's going to take a long time, which it probably would. It's more so that it's going to cost you more money because you're losing some of that power in that transfer. Maybe Tesla has figured this out with that Project Garfield. They have acquired a company and got some of their technologies to hopefully make that better. But if we're just basing it off of regular wireless charging technology that we've seen, I don't know that it makes all that much sense to have like at my house. But yeah, I'm excited for what the future holds with Tesla. They are clearly working on a ton of stuff. The issue with them is they just don't announce it very well. It would be great if we got more information, or at the very least, get some press releases with some more information, kind of like what Apple does. I think the Robotaxi looks incredible. I want one for myself as just my daily car. The Robovan is an interesting concept. Don't know how I feel about the looks, but is what it is. And seeing everything Tesla just announced and applying it to what could be in the Model Y Juniper, that's getting me excited. The Tesla ecosystem is growing, and it's kind of an interesting time to be alive.